Hello, YouTube. It is about 1 in the morning, and I can't sleep, so I've decided to start my own car nerdery channel. In any case, this is me. I'm recording this on a phone, which I probably shouldn't be, but that, right there, is my 1985 Pontiac Fiero. It has about 89,000 miles on it. I just retrieved it from New York. It was in storage at my parents' place for a while. I'm basically just going to go over everything that needs done, fixed, replaced, whatever, before I get it on the road. First, I'm going to start with the obvious, those wheels. They're getting replaced. The tires are disgusting. They're old. They don't work anymore. Well, they do. They hold air, but that's about it. That's getting replaced with 16-inch wheels and slightly lower profile tires. The paint, I don't know how well you can actually see it, is all swirly. I need to fix that. I'm just talking about the superficial for now. There's a lot of other work that needs to be done. The hard brake lines need to be all replaced, which I'm going to do with stainless steel. The rubber hoses, I probably should replace them, so I'm going to do those with stainless steel. I'm going to touch up the paint where, it's bubbling up and where there's any kind of exposed material. But outside of that, I think I'm just going to leave the body alone for the first phase of the project. The first phase of the project is going to be a, possibly, depending on price, 2.4 liter Ecotec 4-cylinder engine with an F23 5-speed manual transaxle behind it. Not too sure yet as far as the details on the swap, other than the fact that it is getting a 1988 engine cradle. Now, there is a good reason behind that, and I will explain that in just a moment. One of the other things I need to replace is that mirror. During my drive down from New York, I'm not sure how well you can see it, there's a crack right in the middle. Somebody bumped into it and broke it while I was at a rest stop. So, if you'll notice now, all of these dew wipes, inside and outside on both sides, need replaced. I bought the car like that. This car I purchased for $675 in New York. Number of years ago, I kind of learned to drive with this thing. So, long story short, it is a very, I'm kind of attached to it in that sense. So that's why I'm doing all of this work to bring it back. Not to mention, it's one of those kind of devil you know versus devil you don't sort of things. If I turn around and try to get a new Fiero, or different Fiero, the problem that I'll have is I don't know how the body's holding up as far as rust. Now, the body itself can't necessarily rust, but the frame can. The body is made mostly of Enduraflex plastic, which is nice because, well, let's see how well I can do this. It's pretty bendy. I don't know how well you can see that bending, but this stuff can take a beating and will just bounce right back. It's not... Here we go. See if you can actually see the deflection. But anyway, it's pretty flexible. Now, the front here, I've already cleaned this very considerably. There was a abandoned mouse nest up there, which I still have to pull some stuff out of. There are spider webs that need to come out. All of this crap was much thicker built up in here, in the channel where the spotlight's moving, and along the top here. The coolant tank, as you can see, is currently resting on the edge of the radiator fan shroud, which isn't good. When I do the engine swap, there's going to be a surge tank in the back to replace that. Passenger side power motor to lift the headlight. That is doing the dreaded run-on, meaning the gear inside is stripped. How it works is it continues to spin until there's enough pressure on the system. I'm just going to spin it closed until there's enough pressure on the system to push the gear against the limit switch, which then tells it to turn off. It can't currently push enough pressure on the limit switch to turn it off because the gear is stripped. They use plastic gears in these first generation motors. There is a guy, Rodney, I can't remember his last name, he's got a store. I'll put it in the link below. He sells metal headlight gears for that, which I intend to use. Moving back a little bit further, the antenna here is either going to get hidden here in the A-pillar or down here in the fender. I'm not sure which yet, because normally I don't really much care for AM/FM radio. I usually just hook up my phone, use Spotify or Pandora. Less Pandora now, more Spotify, but I digress. Quarter window back here, cracked, nasty, gonna get replaced. Down here, the door skin is poorly fixed. I bought the car like that. Pretty much these tires I bought the car with, so that's another reason they need to be replaced. You'll see some paint chips and scratches and everything. These are things that either came on the car when I bought it, or like that one was on the car when I bought it, or they were just put on through the abuses of a growing teenager. That being said, oh wow, I gotta fix that too. Okay, that being said, let's move on to the interior. If I can, I don't have enough hands for this. So, moving on to the interior. That was loud. I apologize. Interior also needs a lot of work. Center console, just to start off with, that's broken. That needs repaired. Hang on. This piece here that I'm holding needs to be replaced. The mounting holes are completely blown out. So I can't actually screw this thing back in. So I'm just going to mold my own with proper mounting holes. Now, time to get into the car and show off the gauges. My steering wheel's locked in its current position. Anyway, gauges. Right now, it has 89,036 miles on it, and I can't see the tenth. Between 6 and 7 tenths. I have put 221 miles on it since I got it back here to North Carolina. All of the gauges do work. All of the lights behind the gauges work. HVAC mostly works except for air conditioning. I'll show that in just a moment. Radio does not work. Well, it does, but there's a caveat, and I'll show that in just a second. Automatic shifter. Transmission's only a 3-speed with a torque converter lockup for the facsimile of an overdrive. Doesn't exactly work too well. I mean, I do get fairly good gas mileage in the car when the headlights are down. I'm averaging about 30 miles per gallon, which is okay, but not the best. Following up, the reason why the radio doesn't necessarily work is because I have tapped into, with that wire, and I'll show you in just a moment, into the 12-volt ignition. And the reason for that is I needed navigation to get from New York back home. So what I've done, the cigarette lighter hole down here, the wires under there were not providing power to my cigarette lighter, which you can see here. So what I did was I wired it to the 12-volt ignition behind the radio just so I could kind of get it hacked together real quick so I can actually get out. I spent most of my time in New York putting an alternator and starter into this car because the starter had a crack in the casing and a crack in the solenoid casing, and then the alternator was just flat out seized. Moving over to grab my keys. By the way, please don't rail on me for the mess of a garage I have. I'm still in the process of organizing and cleaning. All of my tools and everything are going to this side of the garage, and the car's going to be stored on... Well, I'm not sure. Actually, the car's going to be stored on this side. Tools are going to be on that side. I don't know yet. I got to figure that out. And I'm rambling. I apologize. Now we're moving back here to the ranch, where I keep all 6 remaining horses. This, I apologize, is nasty. There's a lot of leaves, there's a lot of crap in there. It's just generally filthy and needs to be cleaned. You can see it's not the greatest engine compartment. I mean, it's nice because it's relatively large and spacious for what you get, and it's fairly easy to work on everything in here, but mine in particular is kind of grody. Trunk too. Trunk needs to be cleaned out fairly extensively. Chances are what I'm going to be doing is pulling the trunk material completely out to clean it, and also to inspect, which, one moment, my deck lid just kind of fell on me. But I kind of want to show is this. Behind the trunk material, there is literally no corrosion. This car is rust and corrosion free for the most part. Obviously there's rust up there, but that's kind of that is a trivial part. This is metal that is kind of integral to the car itself. So let me just put my trunk back into place. Well, trunk material. Ow. Yeah, that's another thing I got to do. I got to fix the spring for this deck lid that keeps falling on me. Either a spring or a strut kit or something similar. Now, I don't know if you can see this. I've got headliner material hanging down. It's kind of gross. I forgot to mention that while I was in the car. The headliner is not really a thing. I bought the car like this. I figured I would replace it within a week or two. But I didn't realize that as a college student I would be as poor as I was. So I ended up not replacing it. So I will be as time goes on. Brakes are getting done. Probably going to go with a 12-inch Corvette brake kit. This front clip, ultimately my goal is to use the Norm's fiberglass tilt front clip with the C6 headlights. Mirrors, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those yet. I know I want power mirrors. As far as what cars I'm going to be sourcing them off of, not sure yet. Back end, up in the air as far as body. But like I said, Ecotec 2.4 F23 transmission. And then suspension, I'm not sure yet on that either. But as time goes on, I will continue to plan forward and hopefully have a fairly interesting channel as I actually work on this thing. I'm going to be setting up a computer over behind that really, really bright light. I'm going to be setting up a computer over here on this shelf. I've already begun to move stuff up. So this way I can also set up a webcam that will be kind of at this-ish angle, maybe? With a wider view, of course. This phone is kind of a narrow angle. But it will allow me to live stream any of the work that I have to do in the car. I don't know if there's any kind of market for something like that, but here's to hoping. In any case, thank you for listening to me ramble for 13 minutes and 15 seconds. I'll talk to you guys soon.